what CETAs do, and how we can assist you and support you in meeting your own organizational needs so that you become more productive and you start employing more people. Another important policy is the Industrial Policy Action Plan. Okay? Now, that's the IPM, it's called the IPM. These are all industrial policies that forms a backdrop of the National Skills Development Plan and that drives economic growth and employment within industrial subsectors. So that's what we are saying. Those will be the outcomes of those policy instruments in terms of economic growth, employment creation, productivity, social development. And obviously, in terms of the greater outcome of all of that, obviously we need to ensure that these are sustainable and our economy is sustainable in the medium to a long term. So there's a long-term vision to this. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of each one of the outcomes, okay? And I'm going to align to how your workplaces can benefit and how you need to leverage from the NSDP. Actually, you need to invite your CETA representative to your workplace and to ask him or her, tell me, how can I leverage the CETA grant system? You could be doing more for your workplaces via the CETAs. And the CETAs will fund it, okay? You will apply for what is known as, firstly you make submission for a WSP ATR where you will qualify for a mandatory grant. Then you will do special funding, all right? Where you can offer bursaries in your companies, give your company grants in terms of short impact programs for upskilling of the workforce, for obviously upskilling of supervisors, managers, senior managers, etc. So in terms of outcome one, identify and increase production of occupations in demand. Many of you are aware of, previously we used to use the concept scarce and critical skills, okay? Scarce skills would be your scarce occupations. Critical skills would be basically be a skills gap within an occupation, all right? Let's assume if you lack management skills, so that would be like a critical skill. But sometimes we have lots of scarce occupations, like mechanical, electrical engineers, industrial engineers, medical, doctors, etc. So those are scarce occupations. But now there's a new terminology in all of this called occupations in demand. You'll notice that the Department of Higher Education and Training, they're always publishing the top 100 occupations in demand. When you come in here, it is important, okay? When we determine that list of occupations in demand within industrial subsectors, let's assume you come from the manufacturing subsector. We depend on the feedback that you give us through the WSP and ATR, where we would pull out through research, through surveys, the occupation in demand within the manufacturing sector. When we say occupations in demand, what we are saying is that these are the occupations that are in need. This is where employment is going to take place, and these are the numbers that we would need. So it's important that this list of occupations in demand, it's got to be accurate. And we depend on you as HR colleagues to assist us in terms of accurate prediction of occupations in demand. I spoke about the national list. In terms of the centers of specialization, what is happening is that it's called the COS, okay, the Center of Specialization. Today we have TFET colleges that specialize in terms of a specific occupation. Like if you look at TFET College, Ekululeni East, they would specialize in like a fitter, all right, a mechanical fitter. They would specialize in that occupation. So what we have done is, in order to ensure that in terms of the occupation of a fitter, that we are up to date, that we are benchmarking, you will go to the TFET College, Ekululeni East, for your company. And that's where you will get the most qualified people that have the best knowledge, relevant knowledge, fit for purpose knowledge, current knowledge in terms of that employment gap in your organization. Linking education and workplace. So HR colleagues, you've got to link education and the workplace. For example, my CEO was telling me just the other day, they've been to Brazil, I think sometime last year, where there is close relationship, very close partnership and relationship between the TFET colleges and industry. But I don't see the partnership happening in South Africa, okay? The other day I was just reading an article about an education and training model in Sweden, okay? And what they are saying is they are highly successful, hardly any unemployment, or no unemployment within that country of Sweden. They are saying that at least 30 to 40% of their industries work very, very closely with the TFET colleges. I put it to you. Ask yourself, how many of your workplaces, organizations work with public TFET colleges? They are there, okay? We cannot always be saying, you know, they lack capacity, they're not giving us the right graduates. What are you doing to assist them in terms of curricula? What are you doing to assist them in terms of their program mix? Have you gone to the public TFET colleges and have you told them, this is what I would require in terms of my courses, short courses for my organization? You've got to ensure that you're giving me the best, all right? I'm not saying the private skills development providers don't do that, okay? They also do it, but there needs to be this close relationship between the public TFET colleges. That's what we are promoting in terms of the workplaces. So improving the relationship between education and training and work is key. That's what they say. The white paper in post-school education and training, unequivocal. The main purpose of TFET is to prepare students for the world of work. Please, my advice to you is work with the CETAs. Right? Get the grants so that you bring in the graduates from the TFET colleges and the HET institutions. Right? In order to assist you in HR, in order to assist you in finance, at least employ 1 or 2 graduate interns. But you can do it with CETA funding and not with your company funding. It won't be at your cost. Right? They can assist you. You would give them the relevant, obviously you would coach and mentor them, and you would give them the relevant training so that they have an opportunity to become employed in the future. These days companies are not employing people who don't have any work experience or internship experience. Some of them may need internship experience to complete their qualifications. So there needs to be this link between education and the workplace. And we're saying that countries, I mean, it's a common feature in most countries where there is this close linkage that is between education and workplaces. Improving the level of skills in the South African workforce. What we are saying, we are challenged by low productivity in the workplace. You know, the transformation is slow. From 2010 to 2014, the share of employed with a matriculation certificate increased by 2.6% from 49% to 52%. Okay? Whilst the share of employed with tertiary education increased from 19.3 in 2010 to 20.5% in 2014. You'll notice that the workforce is not like sufficiently formally educated. Okay? Although they're showing some percentage increases in terms of those that are coming to the workplace, much more needs to happen. You as HR practitioners, you need to be sitting with your employees, talking about the continuous professional development. These are the qualifications that you need to do. You haven't completed this qualification. Why don't you complete it? Getting an honors degree may be good for you. Getting a master's degree may be good for you. So encourage them to study. It will improve productivity in the workplace. It will increase quality. There will be obviously movements of staff, creating employment for other people to come in, etc. So encourage your staff to study. They should be continuously studying. Okay, as an educator, and you see it in your own lifetime as well, in your own career, that if you do not study, you are going to stay. Don't allow that rock to settle within the workplaces, especially given that you are HR people within those workplaces. Increase access to occupationally directed programs. I mean, as I told you that we borrowed the best in terms of the skill system from the skill system the rest of the world. We took from Australia, we take it from Scotland. We're taking it internationally from various countries. Okay? And we built what is known as the NQF, where we've got 10 levels of the NQF. And we said, like, this is what is going to be our strategy. Then we got the QCTO, which is the Quality Council of Trades and Occupations. We have lots of occupational qualifications, okay? These would be full qualifications in terms of learnerships that relate directly to occupations within the workplace. We've got an apprenticeship program, all of them accredited by SATWA, okay, at NQF level 4. We've got learnerships that run between 1 to 4, etc. So these are all occupational qualifications. We know that the unemployment rate is very high in this country. Okay? Create jobs within your workplaces. Use the CETA grant system. Okay? You're paying the levy. You contribute to the levy. Use the CETA grant system. CETAs are offering huge amounts of funding. We pay to the level of, university funding. We give huge amounts for bursaries. We give apprenticeship. We pay at least about 165,000. That is the regulated grant for an apprentice. Okay, coming into the first year and completes their qualifications. Okay, it takes an apprentice at least 3 years to complete an apprenticeship qualification. So what I'm saying is that leverage of the CETA grant system. Do not say that you've got insufficient budget, because companies are not going to spend huge amounts of money on bringing unemployed people into the company to train. Here is what you need to do. So what I'm trying to tell you is that you need to leverage off the strategy. You're saying the National Development Plan sets a target of 30,000 artisans produced annually by 2030. So each year we should be producing 30,000 artisans. We know that the average age of an artisan in this country is at around 55. Okay? And artisans are technically skilled people. They are middle-level technically skilled people and more need to be brought in. Right? We need to train more and more of these artisans, because obviously if we want to sustain our manufacturing industry within this country. Support the growth of the public college system. This is what the strategy is saying. We are not saying that you shouldn't be supporting private skill development providers. We are not saying that you shouldn't be providing private education and training institutions. We are saying also support the TFET colleges, who are the critical pillars for social and economic development in this country. All right? This relates to a bigger and a broader vision. Private institutions come and go, but your public technical vocational education training institutions, they are there and they're going to remain for years. So if we want to make our education, our PSET, our post-school education and training system more sustainable, we are urging our workplaces, and you are the HR practitioners, to please support, work with industry. There needs to be this good industry TFET partnership. It's happening all over the world, okay? It needs to also happen in South Africa. A new concept that they have brought in within the National Skills Development Plan is the role of the community education and training colleges. You know, they do obviously the soft skills, the foundational learning, the literacy, the mathematics. They will do skills such as baking, motor mechanics, those kinds of skills, occupational skills. Could be a little bit of sewing, knitting, or whatever the case is. These will all be offered through the community education and training colleges to keep our adults, occupied, and to give them, to ensure that not only for the adults, also for the youth. Okay, many of our youth can engage in baking courses, and obviously they could become entrepreneurial and set up their own businesses. So that's what the thinking is there in terms of bringing in now, emphasizing the role of the community education and training colleges. Stat SA estimates that more than 18 million people above 20 years have education levels below the national senior certificate. So that is of concern. Okay, that is a lot of people there. 18 million. Our population is just in excess of maybe 55 to 57 million people, and of those 18 million don't have a metric certificate. So you can just imagine what chance do they have in terms of their own survival and sustainability. More than 3.3 million youth aged between 15 to 24 years and 4.6 million aged between 25 to 34 years. Now these are people that are not in education, employment or training. These are really frightening figures. If you have a youth, obviously, that lacks a proper education, that lacks access to education, can you imagine what's going to happen to the economy of this country going forward? Okay? And that is the reason why sometimes, we always want to look at the crime statistics of this country, and we say that crime is too high, but this is the reason why it's too high. Okay? You're not giving sufficient opportunities to the youth. Okay? They have the energy, they are young, some of them just need to have that access. So use the CETA grant system. Engage with your CETAs. Let your CETAs, there are 21 CETAs in this country. Let them do more for you in terms of work, of your workplaces. You must demand it if you're skilled, levy paying. If you're not skilled, levy paying, you can also demand it. But those that if you are levy paying, please request that you have these meetings with these CETAs to ensure or to see how best you can leverage on it. Skills development support for entrepreneurship and cooperative development. Yesterday we had a speaker that was talking about companies offering employees, giving them grants, right? Giving them 10, 15,000 rand to open up their own businesses. This is what this outcome is all about. Okay, we got to ensure that when we are educating or when we are training people, they don't just become employees. Today I've been telling my children, you cannot depend on formal employment. All of us, we like formal employment because it's nice security, nice benefit, but that is not going to happen anymore, right? So you've got to look at our youth can set up new ventures, can set up small companies, SMMEs, where they could employ 2 to 5 people, anything between 2 to 5 people, all right? So they should not only become employees when you train them, but they must become employers as well. So that is the thinking of the new strategy, and that's where the emphasis is, about people becoming entrepreneurial. And I'm sure you'll agree with me that those that have taken risks early in life, obviously a person like me who's old, not going to take a risk and start a new business and invest a couple of million into a business, all right? But especially the youth, they could take a few risks. Let them set up their own business. That's what I tell my son. That's what I tell my daughter. Okay, open up something small. Kick it off. By the time you're 35, you don't know what can happen. Okay? If you don't become a Richard Branson, a Patrice Motsepe, so that's what the thinking should be. Do not depend on formal employment. Then, support for cooperatives can play an important role. So these are some of the things. You don't only set up an SMME, you can also set up cooperatives, all the the types of businesses that you could set up, and you could register, and you could access CETA grants. CETAs are now giving support in terms of the strategy for people that want to set up businesses. All right? They can also assist you in terms of infrastructure. And they can also assist you in terms of business setup capital, whereby you want to register those businesses, etc. So, strong emphasis on entrepreneurship and cooperative development. Encourage and support worker-initiated training. This mainly relates to the unions. Obviously, in terms of the workforce and in terms of your workplaces, you should be encouraging this thing where workers obviously ensure that you can initiate training for workers, whereby they become aware of the economic challenges of the workplace and of the subsectors. All right? There are some major issues, socio-economic issues, like AIDS in the workplace. All right? Like shop steward development, labor legislation. So we need to ensure that this worker-initiated training continues, which can come from the labor unions and the workers themselves. There are 8 outcomes, and this is outcome 8, supporting career development services. As an educator, I only remember like my guidance counselor at that point in time, taking me around to some of the universities and some of the colleges at that time, and telling me what the careers are all about, informing me of how I can apply. They do it in grade 9, and I think at that time I was in standard 7, and they will do it in matric, okay? Now the current grade 12. But we, as CETAs, right, we have career exhibitions all over the country. The Department of Higher Education and Training has career exhibitions. All of your kids and school children must be exposed, right, to various careers that will align to the skills, the aptitudes, the knowledge, and in terms of the way they perform. Recently, last year, or just, I think towards the end of last year, we had the then Minister of Higher Education and Training, Dr. Naledi Pandor, addressing about 500 learners, where she emphasized the need, of learners doing maths and science. Okay? So maths and science is important. May not be the be-all and end-all, but if your kids have an aptitude to do maths and science, let them go for it, because that's where the opportunities are. And that's where the occupation's in demand. Okay? Sometimes, because mommy and daddy has become an HR practitioner, so we think our kids can also follow that route. But, so sometimes I think we should learn. And make sure that they are choosing the correct subjects at school. Make sure that they're doing something that would lead to a job. Today, you've got to study smart. You've got to study in a way that will give you competitive edge. Like I was just a teacher, like everyone else. And teachers now, we're not earning that much. So then I say, okay, let me study smart. Let me see how I can get competitive edge. So when I did my higher degrees, I'll do something that's quite niche. Not everybody is studying in that direction. So I know when I'm competing in that field, I am the best. Don't think that you be the best. But you've got to ensure that you become the best, you become competitive. That's the only thing that can lead to your sustainability. Okay? So that's what you tell your children. Study smart. Don't study like everyone is doing HR. I mean, obviously, you know what I'm saying? Then there's competition. In terms of the various principles, I'm just going to just read them out to you. Locating the NSDP within an integrated PSET system. All right? In terms of the PSET system, the post-school education and training system, all right? This is mainly related to education. You can never forget the role of CETAs. We are very much involved, center and core, to the post-school education and training system. Previously, when you and I were young, we were just used, our moms and dads would tell us, you need to go to a college. You need to go to a university. Okay? Now, for the first time, since in 2000, you are able to get a national qualification, an international qualification through accredited workplaces. Okay? For example, I come from the clothing industry. We train garment constructors, sewing machinists. We benchmark our qualification, both nationally, internationally, sub-Saharan Africa. Our seamstresses or garment constructors can go anywhere in the world, in any clothing industry, they'll get a job also. Because when you track back that certificate, it's also registered by SAPA. They form part of what is known as the NLRD. When you go internationally, if they want to see that you don't have a fraudulent certificate, then they come back to SAPA and the NLRD. Okay? So don't forget that CETAs are also offering qualifications through the workplaces. And the best thing about the CETA qualifications is that you earn while you learn. Okay? While people are earning money, get stipends, they're also learning at the same time and acquiring qualifications. The old school thinking of sending our children directly to universities, etc., there needs to be a mindset shift on that. Contributing to the country's socio-economic development objectives, well, I think I discussed the NDP, NGP, and the IPM with you. Advancing an equitable, integrated system. Obviously, we need to ensure that we address the transformative imperatives of equity in relation to class, gender, race, youth, geography, which is rural and urban, and disability. We also need to bring in more disabled people. I mean, if you can bring in disabled people within your workplaces, that would be so appreciated. Okay? And there are CETA grants that address disability. I'm sure they could do some kind of work within your industries. Okay? If you just give them an opportunity. So we need to address all those transformation imperatives. We speak so much about gender. I mean, we heard Lincoln Barney speak about gender, but the skills strategy is there. It addresses all of these issues. Okay? The NSDP promotes collaboration through partnerships, and I think Professor Mervyn King also spoke about partnerships. Lots of the speakers were talking about public-private partnerships, etc. So for the strategy to be a success, there has to be collaboration and partnership between government and private workplaces like yourself. Focusing on support system for learners and employers, okay? We need to ensure that prospective learners and public are aware of when and how to apply for programs and have access, obviously, to a simplified process. So CETA have very simplified processes. In fact, I'm speaking to, I see another gentleman here from the CETA, WNR CETA, and you need to leverage, you need to access it. The CETA system, I think we commit around 15 billion to education and training. Okay. That is the revenue of CETA. There needs to be a strong emphasis on accountability. Obviously, we have strong monitoring and evaluation systems that will govern the strategy, that will govern CETA going forward. We need to understand skills demand, and I spoke to you about occupations in demand, okay? In terms of accuracy when you fill in your WSP ATR. So we can determine accurately where employment will be created going forward. Qualifications and provisions, what we are saying is, we've got the quality councils. In terms of occupational qualifications, you've got the QCTO. In terms of the TFEDs, obviously you've got Lucy, and you also got Higher Education and Training Council, okay? In terms of your universities of technology. And then we also look at funding mechanisms. We've got to ensure, okay, much of the funding that not only comes from the fiscus, but also comes from the skills levies with regard to workplace-based learning incentives. This is the NDP. I'm just going to reflect on it very, very quickly. These are some of the targets. What we're saying is that in terms of the TFED college sector, 25% would be accommodated of 1.25 million enrollments. Year on year, TFEDs are given targets to increase the enrollment, okay, to increase registration of learners within the TFED college system. We've got to provide 1 million learning opportunities through CETs, and I told you that's what the new strategy is about, the community education and training colleges. Improve the throughput rate to 80%. You know, it's shocking. I'll be honest with you, in this country, year on year, okay, we are improving the metric pass rate, the senior certificate metric pass rate. But when we look at those learners that entered grade 1 to those that finished grade 12, it is staggering that you'd have 700,000 students that would drop out. That's quite a staggering amount of people, learners. Then if you look at the university throughput rate, which is, I'm given to understand, is an acceptable throughput rate. When a student enters university at first year level, and by the time he completes maybe his qualification, we have what is known as a 20% throughput rate. They do not finish, many of them are not finishing the degrees within the minimum number of years for that degree or qualification. That's what it's telling us. So it's quite important to understand what is known as throughput rates. We need to increase enrollment at universities. That's what we're saying. Number of students eligible to study towards maths and science. Huge emphasis on maths and science, okay, in terms of the new education and training strategy. You want to increase the PhD students, okay, to ensure that obviously in terms of, the staff and the graduates that we are producing in terms of PhD, doctoral graduates, these need to increase. And there are targets in the NDP, the National Development Plan, which you need to be made aware of. And I think, the backbone of the entire strategy of the entire system is the white paper, okay, which tells you that there needs to be quality education, an important right, which plays a pivotal role in relation to a person's health, quality of life, self-esteem, ability of citizens to be actively engaged and empowered. So we've got to ensure, and I think it's your responsibility, you are like the teachers of children within your workplaces, to ensure that your workforce is upskilled and they obviously are continuously professionally developed within their occupations, right, so that they attain the true and full potential and they improve workplace productivity. With that, I just want to thank you. What I've done is just given you an overview, okay, of the strategy so that you are able to access the season. Thank you very much. Then I'm going to leave you.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Hello. Nice. I was in and out. I should have been here for this one, but I'm running between rooms. So, Slido. You guys must connect with the speaker on Slido. You need to type in those questions now, and we have hooked up. The other speaker, sorry, the name again, I forgot. Nico Landman is hooked up with the questions, which is coming to his phone, and we can load in those questions because we need it documented. We need it We need the questions. Are you fine, my darling? As long as your phone is fine, I'm not too worried. As long as you can slide on it. So connect to Slido, ask your questions through them, and also very important, you got to rate the speaker. Give him 5 stars. Give him 5 stars, right? He looks as gold today. And then also the topic as well, rate the topic as well, so that we get analytics for next year. Please, ladies and gentlemen, if you could please use the technology. Please do not be on Facebook and Instagram right now. Be on Slido and get us the information to the speakers here as well. Thank you, Nicola. You guys will enjoy it. Thank you so much.
While we're setting up Nico's presentation, then you can send some questions through for Mr. Naika on Slido, and the poll is live, and you can put your questions in. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. See you at the gala tonight.
Sure.
Okay. Are there any questions? Yeah? Okay. Okay, I can take it from you. Okay. How do we approach CETAs to start up our own? Been thinking about it for 5 years already. Now we've got 21 different CETAs in this country, okay, all representing different industrial subsectors. I don't know from which industrial subsector you come from, but you can engage with them because if you Google the CETA that's applicable to your industry, where you're contributing the levy, okay, it'll tell you, you know which CETA your company contributes a levy to. You must start engaging with them because each of the CETAs, they have regional offices. Okay, there's one in Gauteng, there's one in Cape Town, there's one in Durban. You start engaging with the regional manager. Because you contribute to the levy, you have a right that he comes to your workplace and he talks to you about the strategy. He talks to you about the levy grant system. He talks to funding that can become available to you, okay, and to your organization and to your company, and how it is done for project implementation, DG project implementation. We have in CETA what is known as mandatory grants, WSP-ATR, all right, which is mandatory, where by regulation we will give you 20% of the levies that you will contribute, and then you have what is known as discretionary grant funding. For discretionary grant funding, you'll have put into funding windows. If you want to implement learnerships in your company, he will tell you how, he will tell you how to access the grants. That's what they do. Okay? Any consequences on organizations or companies for non-compliance? No. Okay? There's no legal consequences. No legal consequences. All right? But it's up to your workforce, it's up to you as an HR to get your company involved with the CETA grants. All right? It's not like you don't pay tax. Okay? But the skills levy, that you've got to be compliant with, because that is regulation. Your company must contribute. Your company, I think they look at 1% of the payroll. If it's above 500,000, then you've got to contribute. Okay, 1% of the payroll to the CETAs. What are CETAs doing to companies that do not support the WSPs? That is a very good question. Okay, I don't think so we are allowed to name and shame them. We cannot publish them. Once again, it's up to you. You need to ensure that you've got a skills development committee in your workplace. All right? You need to become vibrant, and you need to convince your management, your senior management. We need to participate in the national skills development strategy. We are contributing to the levy. We need to now fill in the WSP. No matter how small the amount is, start participating. Bring in the money from the CETA into your workplace. Show them how it can be done. That we are not going to take into the company's profits. Sometimes companies think they're going to spend money to educate the workforce. They really not. Okay? I can see my battery going on. Yeah. Are there any other questions?
There are, actually. I was waiting one, because I probably will not have this chance again.
Okay, just one more. I like this question about the military veterans. Okay, I just want to confirm that we do support the military veterans in terms of their education and training needs. I know we at the IPM CETA, we run lots of projects with them. So they are being supported. All right, another question.
From the floor.
Okay.
So firstly, you mentioned
But my advice to you is to obviously, you know, you need to continuously engage with that CETA that you are talking about. I don't know which CETA it is. If the CETA lack capacity, there needs to be continuous engagement with the senior management of that CETA to ensure that you get the, you know, they give you your due attention, which you are entitled to as a living paying contributor to the skills data system.
Right, you spoke about the grant system having applied, and moving on, because obviously that is a concern, that we sit here and we agree on the overall goal, we go back to disseminate the information and that's not the experience. So one understand that the objective of this conference is to speak at the macro level. At a micro level, there are things that are not happening, and that's more of a concern.
Yeah, I worry. I got another CETA gentleman with me. Maybe he wants to maybe have a shot at it. But what I can tell you is that I think the CETAs are doing everything and more to engage with their clients, with their customers. We have strategies in place. There are whistleblowing lines. There are complaint lines that you could go through if you're not getting, you know, the attention that you thoroughly deserve. So it's up to you. I worry about this question because I can assure you that there are dire consequences for CETA staff when they do not engage, you know, with the clients or with the public in terms of the skills transfer. But if you escalate the matter to DIET and it goes to the minister's office, it becomes a serious issue. Okay? So I'm not telling you that you should go directly there because you'll be putting people into trouble. But what I'm saying is, you know, you've got to escalate it sometimes if you're really not getting, you know, the attention that you really need. Okay? Don't tell the other people.
No, so it's not right. It's not a complete, and I'm not taking over. It is the system.
Yeah, but you can escalate it.
It's not people that are not delivering. It's a system that is lacking. That or rather needs improvement, not lacking, but needs improvement. So it's not about individuals, as the current systems are not fully supporting the bigger picture. You spoke about integrated PSET system. I was involved in the study, situational analysis study for the PSET sector across South Africa, and from that engagement, I got to see the different gaps. And this was in 2015. To date, not much has been put in place, and hence we're still having this conversation. So again, the important thing is not about an individual, but about what needs to be implemented in the system.
Yeah. There's a very nice question of how we approach and motivate the youth in terms of available opportunities. Children not aspiring to be better than us as parents. Now I can assure you that the challenges you have with youth and with children, you know, your own children, are no different from the ones that I have. We've got to talk to our children about careers. You know, they've got to be serious about education. If they see you as good role models and good examples, then they will also follow you, right? So you've got to ensure that you're continuously appraising them of their opportunities, of the economic crisis in this country, of unemployment in this country, of what they're going to do. There are lots of, you need to appraise them of the incentives that are available to them, especially for the youth. You know, lots of grants, bursaries, etc. Talk to them, counsel them, all right? You must know, you are the first level of engagement with some of the youth, some of them in the communities, or with your own children. So engage them and appraise them and tell them that if they do not take the opportunities, obviously it's going to be you know, something that they would suffer from in the long term. Yeah, from my working with children as to why they're not engaged or why they would just drop out, obviously there could be other factors, other influences, other influencing factors, you know, that relate them to them not being motivated enough, not obviously you know, taking schooling and education seriously. So these could be other factors. You know, it could be conflicts within the home setup. It could be peer pressure. And there's lots of tons of other factors. Could be drugs related, etc. So we need to monitor all those You know, those issues, so that we put a finger on it and we get them motivated. You've got to motivate your kids. Don't let your kids become a liability to you. And you've got to tell them to persevere. That is very, very important. Okay, even if they fail, they go back, they continue, and they carry on. They've got to persevere. In South Africa, it's going to get tough. It's going to get tough. So they need to persevere, and I think if they do that, they will do well. Okay, I don't want to keep this much time.
Too late for that. It's fine, okay, that was very good questions. And one question that just came up now, if I may just read it. And it says this, and I need the glasses sadly. How is the CETA trying to capitalize the skills development beyond the fourth industrial revolution? And this is what I'm going to handle right now. Right, so thanks PK for that. It was a very nice in-depth National Skills Development Plan overview. But what I would like to do now is maybe just go in and deep dive in one or two of the aspects that has now been presented over here. Let's kick off. So these outcomes, these are the outcomes that PK went through individually. But if I just have a quick look at the overview, identify increased production of occupations. In other words, how are we going to align what we are teaching our people so that they can be absorbed in industry? Very important. And in this aspect, I would like to chat specifically around the fourth industrial revolution. The next one is linking education to the workplace. Now, if I represent a German company, and currently in South Africa, there is a DSPP program, and what that basically means, it is a dual learning system program. That means that the student spends time at the workplace, but also spends time at the college or school, already then to give them the alignment with what would be required when eventually they go into formal employment. And this is what that covers there. Now, improving the skills level, outcome number 3. This is really why we are sitting here and what PK looked at in his presentation. So I'm not going to go too much into that, but if I look at the next one, access to occupationally directed programs. And this is exactly what the CETA system is all about. 21 CETAs, you said, PK, all right? And each one are sort of sectoral to be able to say that these are the skills going to be required for that specific type of industry. Moving on, the public college system. Yes, the TVET colleges, you spoke about the centers of specialization, which is a very good principle because specifically in geographic areas, this is where these centers of specialization would be set up to look at the economies and at the industry in that specific region. It is strategically done that way. Moving down, entrepreneurship. Now, basically if we look at what is happening in our employment statistics, we are hovering around about 30% unemployment. What is the answer? Entrepreneurship is the answer. If every entrepreneur can have about 3 to 5 people that they employ, that will already cover a lot of the unemployment that we have in the country. But how do you capacitate a learner, a student, and even a young professional in entrepreneurship? Now, there are some programs that are currently running through the GIZ. The GIZ is a German organization that invests a lot of money in education in Africa. And they recently launched a 3-year program in digital skills development. And the tagline says this: skills for employment and business. So what they do, they teach the people on this program not just the digital skills for them to become an employee, but also to become an entrepreneur. And this is a 3-year program that is being kicked off now at the beginning of this year. There are these programs. And if you are looking to engage with these, it's a matter of a Google search and you can get to these things. Worker, the last 7th one, encourage the worker integrated learning. The company I work for, Festo, is currently working with NUM, the National Union of Mine Workers, and they're setting up a mega training center because they have realized now that they need to take their people into the next industrial revolution. If you look at mining, there is already now a tagline called Mining 4.0. You get Water 4.0, you get Industry 4.0. So suddenly there's Mining Industry 4.0. Now, if you look what's happening in that space, Currently, there's a mine in the DRC that only has 4 employees. It's running the whole mine. Everything is automated. Driverless vehicles, driverless retrieval, all that type of stuff is already being done. Now, we always ask the question, so what about the people? Now, if you can spend another 2 or 3 days with me in a heavy workshop, we can unpack that, but this is not the forum. But I can tell you now, for us to move forward in South Africa, to be competitive, to get the quality out that we need to be competitive in the world stage, we need to be able to go into industrialization and automation. It's the only way forward that we're going to do it. And there in itself lies opportunities. I can unpack that a bit later for you as well. And lastly, support career development services. I think PK has just left, I believe. He unpacked it well. The way that we can counsel and ensure that the career path chosen would be the one for that particular individual. But if I look at that, I only want to look at outcome 1 in my presentation today. And it's 4IR and digitalization. Now, when I speak to people, oh, worried there it is, it's fine. Oh, I'm so sorry, so sorry. Who knows what this is? Come on, you guys. Who's had one? Hands up. Who's had one? Yeah? Okay, cool. This is my first mobile phone. You know what you could do with this phone? You could call. And a very low-level text message you could do from here. Right? Now, if I compare this to what we have right here, do we believe that there is a major leapfrog in technology? Right? Look at the company Nokia. When this came out, how many years ago? They were the leaders. They were the people everybody was striving to catch up with. But what did they do? They sat on their laurels. They did not do any development, no product development, and no innovation. Then companies like Apple, Samsung came along, and Nokia today really is a non-entity. The same happens in our industry. Are we still a Nokia? Or do we want to be an Apple? And the only way we're going to do that is via education. To make sure that going forward, the people that's going to run our industries, that's going to be our champions of industry, are Nokia people, sorry, not Nokia people, but Samsung and Apple people. So this is really where we're at. And I want to just briefly go over the sort of time frame of the industrial revolutions. Now in the 1800s you had the first industrial revolution, steam power and this type of thing. And it was the first time where a man or an animal did not have to do the work. For the first time now, a machine could do the work. The Japanese have got an excellent saying. They say it's inhumane for a person to do something a machine can do. And guess who is the industrial leaders in the world today? It's Japan. So this is the first industrial revolution. Then came the second one, and this is serial production. This is conveyor belt, electricity, and all that type of stuff. Very exciting. Now, you can imagine the first cars were built by whom? Henry Ford, right? Right? Because he basically got the conveyor belt going. And just a quick question. What color could you get that car in, the Model T Ford? Black. Why black? It was the color that dried the quickest. Now think about the logic there. Already then, they were thinking about lean, productivity, and stuff like that. Henry Ford was a very interesting character. I must just tell you this story. Once he called a news conference, and he had all the reporters out there, and he sat behind a table with a telephone and a notepad. And he said, shoot, you can ask me questions. He started and said, well, what do you think about the economics and whatever? He picked up his phone, he phoned his economist, he put it down, and he answered the question. Other guy asked him, what about this, this, and that? At the end of the day, what do we do currently if we need to look for something for information? We Google. Just think about that as a very crude Google even then. So I'm just throwing it out there so that you can understand. The next one would be the Industrial Revolution with PLCs, robotics, and all this type of stuff. Robots, where we have now flexibility. And then lastly, this is where we are right now, the fourth Industrial Revolution, with what we term cyber-physical systems. And once again, if you've got 2 days, I can explain it all to you. It's very, very technical, but I can explain. What do we have here? The first and the third were basically technical innovation. Basically, it was mechanization, physical stuff. The third one, robotics, PLCs, all these things were physical. Whilst the second and the fourth one is more organizational. Because now it's more about systems and making sure the systems work together and so on to get the productivity. All in all, you get productivity increase, but with that also you get complexity increase. I'll explain what I mean. If you look at the standard value chain in production, that's what you have. Now can you see what it says? What is at the top there? The red arrows in and out. What would that be? What would that represent? Come on, it's a cloud, right? Who knows about the cloud? Yeah? Sure. So this is really the basically, let's call it an ecosystem of what we would need to run a full smart factory in the fourth industrial revolution production facility. Now to fill it in, that's what you need. Each and every one of those aspects needs a person. Do you see all the people that are there? Because this fourth industrial revolution is nowhere without people. It's not going to happen without people. Somebody needs to code, somebody needs to commission, somebody needs to maintain. It is important to understand that the fourth industrial revolution, the automation, is not a thief of jobs. It is a redesign of jobs. So it's very important to understand. But if you look at that, that's an empty canvas. And if you want to be successful in this space, you need to paint all those pictures in there. Let me continue. So, digitalization. We are not an island in South Africa. It's a global phenomenon. Look at that. No country is immune. It's going to happen. The next one. All industries are now shifting to automated processes and so forth and so forth. Especially IT skills. And there was a very interesting study. 42 countries, 20,000 companies were surveyed in this. And 34 of them said, we are actually going to increase our jobs and not decrease our jobs because of automation. Very important. Now, this is a very interesting slide. I always like to chat about it because when I put it up, people look if they can see their name or occupation there. Because the World Economic Forum reckons these roles are regarded as being stable. In other words, in the short to medium term, there's not going to be a drop in these jobs, but there's also not going to be a major hike in these jobs. So, what do we have? MDs. Any MDs in the room? Cool. Any HR professionals in this room? Wow, there's some more there. Any educators, university or higher education people? Wow. Okay, look at this. They are saying university and higher education teachers is a stable position to be in. Human resource specialists, and of course, lastly, also the director. So, if you're in that space, you're in a good space. You can have a look basically at the rest of the occupations and make up your mind where you would fit in. Now, if these are stable, obviously there are also ones that are in a growing phase. Right, so let's have a look what the World Economic Forum says here. Growing. And you can have a look what is the basic bottom line. It is basically design this human-machine interface, digitalization, artificial intelligence. These are the jobs of the future. And even now, if we look at the TVET space, university space, this is where we should have our focus if we want to be successful in the fourth industrial revolution. And of course, lastly, these are the jobs, according to the World Economic Forum, not me, that say that these are the jobs on the decline and will disappear. And it is currently stated that 65% of kids currently entering a grade 1 will be in jobs that is not even existing at this point in time. So these are the ones: data entry, accountants, telemarketers, car and motorcycle drivers, autonomous vehicles, drones. They are basically taking those jobs away. But you can have a look. I put it up there. I think it's very interesting. And through the organization, we share these slides with you. Right? So you get it for yourself so you can have a look at it at a later stage. So, global impact of digitalization. Once again, to refer to that survey, very important. What does it say? That if you look at this thing, 66% say they don't foresee a change. Whilst 4% says they don't know, 10% decrease, but still 20%. No, it's in total 70% are saying that we are still in a good space and we're not going to lose jobs. We might lose occupations, but we're going to have redesigned jobs going forward. Now look what it says. Automation is good news for job seekers. Who agrees with that? Oh, yeah, nobody's sitting on the fence. There's a proviso. Just keep your eye on there. Look what it says. They have the skills. It's extremely important. If you don't have the skills, you're going to be left behind. You continue. What other skills do we need? The top skills that are currently out there required in job specs, what you see out there. And those are basically all soft skills. Have a look at them. There's no hard technical skills. This is what we're going to need. Active listening, speaking, working in teams. All these things are important. And when you put together your training plans for your people, make sure that these are on the agenda for them as well. Not just the hardcore technical skills. When we talk about hardcore technical skills, let's look what's happening in the industrial space. Because starting off years ago, in Education 1.0, in other words, Industry 4.0, what did we have? We had apprenticeships. In other words, you had a friend who was a carpenter, and you sent your son to him to go learn how to do carpentry, or welding, or whatever other physical work there is. It then went on into the manual arts. This is really where we have the Industrial Revolution with Henry Ford with his vehicles. The industrial arts going forward with things like computer-aided design and things. And now we're coming into a point where we say 3D printing. Who's heard about 3D or additive reproduction? Very important. Currently, there are business models now. If I'm a producer of parts, let's just say this, and you want to order it from me, you can come and collect and I deliver. In the future, I won't do that. I will send you a file, and you will print this part at your premises. Now, look what that's going to do for, first of all, productivity. Secondly, from a lack of investments, you don't need to carry stock. And the machine breaks down. Within an hour, you can have that part and replace it on your machine. This is the sort of progression we have in technology as we go along. That's technology, education, but very important. Here's something that is, I should actually highlight. It must be characterized by national movements and formal curriculum standards. It's extremely important that we have the right standards going forward so that we've got QCT, we've got all these institutions that look after the standards in our system. Okay. This is for me also very interesting. There's an organization in Germany, it's called the DDMA. It's basically the Machine Builders Association of the country. And they did another survey. And what did they come up with? If you look at this gray shaded area, people working currently in production, that is deemed to be their current competence level. But if you look at what's needed in the fourth industrial revolution, is basically what you have in the blue section. Interestingly enough, look at the right-hand side, those soft skills, ability to learn, being proactive, working in interdisciplinary teams, lean management, all those things. It's exactly the same soft skills that I showed earlier that is going to be required. At the same time, on the left-hand side, now you've got things like mechatronics, RFID, all these technologies and robotics that is now going to be needed. Because going forward, you're going to need a person that will be able to do the whole scope. If you're in industry and you're, for instance, in production, the machine stands. What normally happens? The operator phones the maintenance manager and he sends the electrician. The electrician runs with his toolbox, he comes to the machine, he looks and says, oh, forget it, this is a mechanical fault, and he goes back. They call the mechanical guy, he comes there, he says, oh, no way, this is an electrician's problem, and he runs off. In the meanwhile, you've lost 2-3 hours with the production. Going forward, you're going to need a generalist, a mechatronics technician, that has got all the skills that will be able to fix the front line. Even better, we're now having programs where the operator can be your frontline maintenance person without having to call anyone else. Okay. So what are we doing? Already now in South Africa, we have these smart factories. In Pretoria, at Rosslyn, we have the BMW the 3 Series vehicle production. That is a smart factory. Everything there is automated. But the problem now exists that we don't have people to maintain that equipment anymore. So what is the short-term solution? You identify existing talent in the organization, you reskill or upskill them with on or off-the-job training, and you do part qualifications and skills programs. So you look for those informal leaders in your organization, and you take them, you choose them, and you put them through an expedited program that they can be able to do it. This is a short term. You know, the machine is here now, the production is here, and we need to do something to fix it. Now let's have a look at what should happen more in the medium term. So in the medium term, we now need to look at formal qualifications. I'm happy to report that of this year, the mechatronics apprenticeship has now been approved. And we already have a cohort of 40 apprentices through the German Chamber of Commerce and Industry that is going through the program. Very exciting stuff. So we are saying use mechatronics as an experience and engage with these people. That's very important. But even more important is this year, that we need to have formulated implementation and formal structures and forums. Now, I have to ask, is anybody from the government here? Okay, is anybody here a personal friend of the president? Then I can say, I'm not going to be derogatory, but he put together this 4th Industrial Revolution Commission, right? And he handpicked these people. There's not a single person from industry on that panel. They're all academics. Professor this and doctor this and professor that. Not a single person. Now recently he's also put together an economic advisory panel. Right? Guess what? Not a single person from industry. But professor this and doctor that and professor that. It's short-sighted. However, we are at least doing something. Because if you look at this graph over here, you can have a look. This is the investment spend of other countries, right? That is doing stuff in the 4th Industrial Revolution space. I see here, even Japan is here. They beat us here, but at least we beat them in the rugby. Yeah? Who watched the rugby on the weekend? Cool. Now what's going to happen this weekend? Any guesses? We're going to kick Wales's butt, right? I do believe so. Indeed, indeed, I think so. Excuse me, sorry. What is your name? Yeah, sorry, what is your name? Okay, the reason why I'm asking, I think you should be in Japan. You look like our rugby captain. Who agrees with me? Look at him, man. Look at that. I think, yeah, well, this man, what is he doing here? Anyway, so let's continue. I'm nearly finished. Of course, the long term is STEM. It is so important. Science, technology, engineering, and math. And if we don't get this right, then 30,000 artisans by 2030 we can kiss it goodbye. Because we won't have the channel that's going to provide the lines of people to go through that process. And PK mentioned a very interesting fact about our cohorts and so on. Every year, 1.2 million people enter the grade 1 system. After a period, 400,000 write the matric exam. So we lost 800,000 people. Then we pass 80% of it. I think this is sort of roughly what we are averaging, 80%. Now if you work it all out, only 25% of the people entering that program is actually exiting. But even though only with a national certificate, it is a sad state of affairs. We are currently busy with the Department of Basic Education as a company, Festo, to look at the dropouts. In other words, those that are leaving the system before. And we're putting together a program that we can take them and make them economically active, and eventually they can re-enter the schooling and even the secondary schooling system or the post-schooling system. But this is extremely important. Now, I've got 2 more slides to go. And now I'm talking to you, collectively. leadership in Industry 4.0. What is necessary from us as leaders, as our C-suites in our organizations, as our MDs, our human resources executives, and so on? We need to be in tune with what's happening in the industry. We need to know what is our competition doing. And we need to create a business plan that has got unique selling points that is going to be ahead of the competition. In other words, you need to know where we're going before that. The hierarchy. Currently, the structures of decision-making in companies is cumbersome. It takes a long time. I must tell you this story, it was rather funny. So we're meeting with the DG of Basic Education the other day, and we present everything, everybody's excited. So I asked him, what is the next steps? He says, okay, come back to me in 1 year. I say, huh? 1 year? No, I wanted to be back next week. You understand? And this is what we are saying. We need to shortcut, and we need to empower people to make decisions. And I'll tell you something, if you make a mistake, right, that let's take it down to education and learning. It's important. We carry on with technology. To embrace technology is extremely important. Connectivity is without a doubt the way to go. Even now, let's have a look. Oh, it's in here. If there are any more questions here. Previously, we could never do something like that, where you can put in questions and I will try and answer for you. Anyway. And lastly is transparency. We are in a change environment in this country. We are in a change environment in this world. Everything has changed. The only constant we have is change at this point in time. How do we communicate this to our people? Are we keeping things back and they are not getting buy-in? Important questions you need to ask. So what we are saying here, it is an honest communication. It needs to be head, heart, and hand. Head, heart, hand. We need to be able to embrace each other in that regard. In other words, we're not going to make it through this change that we're going through. So that is me. Any questions? Of course, I'll wait for it here, if there are any.
Looks like it.
Yeah, there's something here. See,
Any questions, please slide over this check and then the last one.
okay. All right, let's see. Entrepreneurship. How do you start a business in the SD space if conflict of interest is such a problem? We are told, don't resign until the business is making money, or don't stop until the business is making money. It's a bit of a broad question. I'm not sure if you'd like to answer that, BK.
Yeah. You know, there's always ethical issues, conflict of interest issues, and obviously you wanting to maintain, you know, your own sustainability as well. We always want to risk manage all of these things. It's basically your intent, you know. If you have a bad intent, then obviously it's going to be a conflict of interest issue. If you want to set up a business, then you've got to be genuine about it. You've got to put your full energy into it, your full commitment into it, and obviously you're not going to give your commitment to your workplace, so you will have to make that decision. You understand? It has to be an ethical decision that you take, where you decide, I'm going to put now my 200% energy into the small business that I want to set up. So you cannot obviously give your attention to two different places, trying to obviously solicit an income, all right, and then not paying any attention to the workplace, but want to set up your business. It just cannot happen. You need to be ethically sound. You need to give full commitment. You need to be true to yourself. Okay? Then only can you succeed in life. Others will never succeed if you are. All right? You can't have your cake and eat it. Basically, that's the bottom line.
Sorry, there's also, who's Angie? Oh, Angie, come. Sorry, PK, there's a question from Angie, which is basically up there about
Okay. Other states work in a collaborative manner to unpack and implement the National Development Plan in the MTSF, which is a medium-term strategic framework for implementation across the public sector. Yes, we work collaboratively. All our policies, if you look at the new National Skills Development Plan, when we develop our strategic plans, when we develop our annual performance plans, we align fully to the NDP Vision 2030. I showed you all of the targets there in terms of NDP. and we also align to the medium-term strategic framework priorities and the medium-term expenditure framework priorities of government, right? In terms of ensuring that we have a skilled and capable workforce going forward. There's full alignment in terms of the various strategies. Actually, we factor in much more than that. We look at the human resource development strategy of South Africa. We look at the various IPAP iterations, okay, the industrial policy plan action, in terms of the various key action programs. So there's lots of alignment that is done by CETAs and the skills development strategy to ensure the synergy in terms of, and each strategy obviously talk about outcomes all of the various strategies and the vision. So there's full alignment. It happens because I'm responsible for strategy within my CETA, and all CETAs have got strategists like myself. Okay?
There's also
in terms of, it's very good because the NDP and the MTSF, they all talk to what is the strategic requirements, what are the strategic intent of the country. But in terms of implementation, the NDP and the MTSF have been in operation from the time of democracy. And it's been building upon and upon. Then you've got the Public Service Commission that highlights a lot of challenges within the public sector in terms of implementation. So what I'm really asking is, how does all the CETAs, because I used to chair 2 of the CETAs boards, Governance and Strategy and Institutionally Grants Board, but I haven't seen any engagement and collaboration with other CETAs in terms of how can we look at the NDP and the medium-term strategic framework, unpack it, unlock it, and phase it in implementable chunks for the public sector to implement. So that was basically my thinking around the...
Okay, I can assure you that in terms of all that have just been said now, it's all incorporated within the strategic plans and the annual performance plans, the top performance indicators and targets, right, of the CETAs that is in full alignment to the NDP. I've given you all the figures of the NDP and the medium-term strategic framework and the medium-term expenditure framework, all the various broad priorities, of the government policies, etc. These things are all aligned. They are actually aligned to specific targets. When we go to Parliament to answer the portfolio committee, they look for this alignment and they look for implementation. So our targets and performance indicators talk to implementation of those strategies. Okay, we're out to account by the higher education portfolio committee in terms of all of the strategies that have just been spoken of. It's happening in our commission. Right? I'm a strategist, and we go to Parliament. We have to answer. You would like to think it doesn't? I can assure you, the portfolio committee is. It's not easy when you have to go to Parliament. You carry your discipline with you, you're perspiring half the time, and you ask tough questions. Okay? It's not easy. It's not that easy. Okay? Ask the question. All right, okay.
Okay, in which case it is disqualified. We are putting industrial revolution. Let me explain. I will answer your question. Maybe it depends who it is. But I recently looked at, who knows about Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Yeah? There's the new one now, the hierarchy of digital needs, right? So you get the pyramid. The bottom there is battery, airtime, and data. So you're out of the loop right now. Anyway, what is your question? are very progressive. We are still getting a problem for them to do traction in things like mechatronics, robotics, and Industry 4.0. They're investing in low-tech equipment for low-tech results, but they are not putting their money where the future lies. And I've been speaking, there are 51 TVET colleges. I had a meeting, a collective meeting with them, and I said to them, this is an opportunity for a TVET to put their hand up, to be the leader, and everybody will follow. Because everybody will rush to that TVET college. Each and every got a KPI to see how many more students they can get.
Absolutely.
And if they don't have an offering which is a differentiated offering, they're going to just be like the rest of them. Yeah.
So, but it's fine to get wasting money investing in research and doing nothing about it. Because we're spending a lot of money with analysis and we keep neglecting when we start everything in terms of research and analysis.
Very important. If I would ask anybody in the room, what is your organization's currently adoption percentage of digitalization? Would you be able to answer? If we have the perfect digitalization model, and absolutely, let's call it generation industry 1, where would you fall? Most people can't answer that. But we have available a free online Industry 4.0 assessment from our company. With your permission, I can send you that link. Costs you nothing. What you do, you get your sort of stakeholders together, because there's questions on IT, there's questions on human resources, there's questions on production. So you get your C-suite together in the boardroom, you fill this in, and it kicks out a sort of a report saying where you are. Secondly, what are your goals, and also it compares you with people, with companies in your peer group, same turnover, same industry, same amount of people. And secondly, also, it positions you and tells you what your next steps could be. It can't be prescriptive, but if you have these are your goals, the next steps could be that. So through the organization, through IPM, with your permission, I can send you that link, and then you can do that assessment, and you can see for yourself where you are. Cool. And our time is up.
Thank you very much. We're learning all the time. So please don't despair, don't be despondent. Be a collaborator and start partnering. I'm sure we will achieve success. Don't get frustrated, because there are lots of influencing factors. Don't get frustrated. Thank you very much.